love lives here.
I want to take a moment briefly here to say thank you to the newly minted Reverend Sarah Adams, who was here last week. So give it up for Reverend Sarah. So Reverend Sarah got her license at the beginning of this month, which is very exciting. And as you heard, she has been in our faith tradition for years and years and years and years, getting her start as a teen at Agape International Spiritual Center with Reverend Michael way back in the day. And her mom is the minister at Palm Springs, CSL Palm Springs, Reverend Eunice Chalfant. So it's great. It was great to have her here. And it was wonderful because we got her for her debut message as a minister. So that was very exciting. Even her mom said, "How did you snag her before me?" I was like, "Well, I got pull, I guess. So I don't know." So it was great to have her last week joining us for Transcend and Include as part of our series this month, which is Reaching Higher, which is part of our larger series this year, which is, I just wrapped up 2022, so let's just look at the thing here, and that'll help me remember, because I just finished 2022, and so it is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. Thank you, Allison, for that support and love this morning, because it's not going to happen otherwise. I don't know. So yeah, Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision is the theme for 2021. The theme for 2022, in case you're curious, is back there, back by Jared and Matt, and that's Living Everyday Wonder. So I've got that on the brain already because we just finished it, and we just released it to the field earlier this month. So very exciting. All of the talks, all of the stuff has been released. Michelle did the PowerPoint and the social memes and everything again this year. So Riverside representing once again. So there we are. So that's complete. So yay, celebration. And then I got a phone call saying, "Okay, so are you ready for 2023? I'm just like, dude, it's 2 years away. Give me a break. Anyway, so today we are wrapping up our series of Reaching Higher with the talk title is And Still I Rise, and Still I Rise. So I want to open this morning with this from Dr. Ernest Holmes. "I know there is a power for good which is responding to me and bringing into my experience everything that is necessary to my unfoldment. This power for good uses every part of my human experience, the joyous and the challenging, the pleasure and the pain, to guide me into a deeper awareness and knowingness of itself as me. In God, in spirit, in the divine, nothing is wasted. All of my life experiences are used by the power of good to enable me to help others and to bless the whole world." Good stuff, isn't it? There's a power for good which is responding to me and bringing into my experience everything that is necessary for my unfoldment. Even the challenges, even the pain, that it's all good, because what do we know? If it's all good, it's all God, right? And if it's all God, then it's all good. Exactly. So Ed and I we went to Delaware in August for a vacation. We went back and got to see his family, who I call my in-loves because I am in love with them. They are in love with me. I love them. They love me. And so they're not in-laws. You know, it's like, they're in-loves. So we went back to visit the in-loves. And while we were there, we had the opportunity to travel south on the Delmarva Peninsula. Delmarva, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, that's the peninsula that they're on. So we had an opportunity to travel further south on the Delmarva Peninsula to the city of Cambridge, Maryland. And the city of Cambridge, Maryland is roughly where Harriet Tubman was born. And it is from this area of Maryland, at Dorchester County, that Harriet Tubman fled to the north, that she escaped enslavement and freed herself and moved north. And it was primarily to this area of Maryland that she returned multiple times over the next decade and helped free 70 of her friends and family and others over that 10-year period. And so we had this opportunity there. It's been there for a while, but we haven't seen it. We didn't see any signs. And so Ed likes to take these routes in Delaware that always confuse me. It's like all of a sudden, here we are, we're on this road that I've never been on before, and he seems to always know where he's going. And I look up, and there is this sign in Newcastle, where he's originally from. There's a sign on this random road that we happen to be on that says Harriet Tubman Byway, National Byway. I'm like, how have we not seen this before? It's like, well, we haven't been on this road before. Like, okay. And then again, there were further signs on the same road that we happened to be traveling on. And then that sparked me to, get out Google and say, okay, what is this? Because this seems new for us here. This is a new experience here. And because I've been going now 9, almost 10 years, we've been going back and visiting his family. And so this is the first time I'd seen this. And I said, okay. And so we found out that there is a road, it's a byway with 125 stops along this byway from Cambridge, Maryland, all the way up to Philadelphia. And there's points of interest along the way of the primary way that Harriet Tubman would travel on a frequent basis. And so there's all these interesting points along the way. So that got us really interested in learning more about Harriet Tubman. And Ed's read the textbook now, the one that is recommended by the people working at the Harriet Tubman Center, the visitor center there in Cambridge. And that really got us even more interested in learning about this powerful and mighty woman and her life and what she did and what she accomplished and how she did it and how she accomplished it. So along the way, Harriet Tubman came to believe over this course of 10 years, not even that course of 10 years, soon after emancipating herself in 1849, she came to believe, even before that led to it, she came to believe that not only did she have a right to be free, but she had a duty to be free. She had a duty to her Creator. She had a duty to the divine. She had a duty to God to make sure that she herself was free. It wasn't just her right, but it was her duty. She expected it. It was her obligation, if you will, to make sure that this life that she was given, that this life was free. And then not only did she make sure that her life was free, she made sure that 70 others in that time period, and then afterward when she became a spy for the Union Army and went to South Carolina, and a nurse, and went to South Carolina and freed so many more, 750 in South Carolina. That this became her calling. This was her passion. This is what she saw as her duty, her purpose in life. Her call from Spirit was to follow this path and to constantly listen to Spirit. To listen to Spirit's guidance, because what she did is she so surrendered into and allowed Spirit to live her life, to govern her life, that she listened to when Spirit said, stop. She listened to when Spirit said, go. She listened to when Spirit said, wait. And as she said, she was a conductor on the Underground Railroad, and unlike other conductors, she never ran off the tracks and she never lost a passenger. Because she was so focused and listening to the Spirit, to the divine guidance, which we know is where? It's within. The highest most God and the innermost God are one God. And so out of this obligation or this duty that she saw, that she experienced, she set people free. She assisted others, countless others, and her legacy continues to this day. She continues to be an inspiration. She continues to be now almost a mythic figure in the United States. And she continues to be a powerful symbol of what is possible, of the freedom that is truly ours. Everyone. That freedom that is within, the freedom that is Spirit, the freedom that is God, because there is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. That life is freedom. Remember what Ernest Holmes says, the goal of life, the ultimate goal of life is the complete emancipation from all discord of every nature. And that everyone is sure to achieve this goal who lives in close contact with the indwelling Spirit. This is the guarantee. And still I rise comes from or hearkens to the beautiful poem by Maya Angelou that speaks to the African American experience in this country. And like all great poetry is also universal. It articulates a universal truth. That there is that within us which is unstoppable, inexhaustible, inextinguishable, and unchangeable. That which we call God, that which we call Spirit, that which we call divine intelligence. That which we live, move, breathe, and have our being in and it as us, in us. That which arises in us, that which arises as us. Another powerful woman living in the 1800s to the 1900s was Emma Curtis Hopkins. Many of you may know of her. Some of you may not. It's quite all right. Emma Curtis Hopkins was referred to as the teacher of teachers. She taught Ernest Holmes, she taught the Fillmores, she taught the Brooks sisters, all of whom went on to then form denominations within this larger concept, this larger movement called New Thought. So she was referred to as the teacher of teachers. And Emma Curtis Hopkins, in chapter 1 of her book, Scientific Christian Mental Practice, says this: "There is a good for me and I ought to have it." Ooh, I heard some people go, right? There is a good for me and I ought to have it, is what she says. There's a good for me and I ought to have it. Now, this word ought is really interesting because from a legal point of view, from a law point of view, which is what we're dealing with the law, right? From the law point of view, from the spiritual law point of view, or from the law point of view, ought means obligation, that I am obliged to. So there is a good for me, and I am obliged to have it. Now that changes things, doesn't it? It shifts the responsibility, doesn't it? There's a good for me, and I ought to have it, right? Versus there's a good for me, and I am obliged to have it. Meaning that I must get into right relationship with the good that is available for me, the good that is always present for me. I am obliged. It is my duty to engage it. It is my duty to align with it. It is my duty to have it. Just as Harriet Tubman believed it was her duty to be free. It is our duty, it is our obligation to have our good, to experience our good. And what is our good? There's only one. So our good is our God. God is our good. Spirit is our good. The divine intelligence is our good. Whatever you're choosing to name it is our good. And so we approach this from this vantage point of my good is my God and my God is my good. And the good that we are seeking is actually the God that we are seeking, because there is only one. And we're not talking about the goodies. When we talk about good, we're talking about a capital G good. We're not talking about goodies. We're not talking about all the little yummy treats, right? Those are good too, but that's not what we're talking about here. Because if what we're seeking is good, and there is only one good, that means there is God. What we are really seeking is God. What we are seeking is a right relationship with the divine, as the divine, living, moving, breathing, and having our being in and as the divine, and it as us. It is bringing us into right relationship. So therefore, I ask you this question: what is it within you that when you're experiencing challenges, we're looking at challenges or pain or anything like that, there is something within you, as you're sitting here, there's something within you that calls you to get up in the next morning. There is something within you that has called you to be present right here and right now, in spite of challenges, in spite of pain. What if we looked at the challenges and the pain as an opportunity or as a beacon or a signal that is pointing us to our good, a greater expression of our good? Because what we're seeing is we're seeing something and we're not really recognizing the good. We're experiencing a challenge where maybe we're experiencing a pain, or we're experiencing good, in which case we can have greater good, right? But if we're experiencing a challenge or if we're experiencing a pain, what if that challenge or that pain was really a signal, really a symbol, really a way shower, really a gift of saying, hey, let's take a moment here. Let's breathe a moment here. And what is in this for me? What gift, what truth, with a capital T, am I being pointed to? What truth, with a capital T, am I to know in this moment? Am I to identify in this moment? What truth, with a capital T, am I seeking? Is this pain or is this challenging pointing me to? What truth is it? And allow the truth to step forward and greet you. Allow the truth to come into your awareness. Remember, Michael Beckwith says we are pushed by pain until we are pulled by vision. So we are being pulled along by pain, perhaps, until we stop and say, hey, wait a minute, pain, what have you got for me today? What gift do you have for me in this moment? What truth are you trying to reveal? And then it is that truth that then says, and still I rise. That in spite of the pain, in spite of the challenge, in spite of whatever obstacle may be appearing before me, it is that truth that says, and still I rise. It is that truth that gives us the power to stand up, to rise up, And what is that truth? That truth is the Spirit. That truth is the oneness with the divine. That truth is whatever divine name you choose to call it in that moment, whether it be love, whether it be abundance, whether it be wholeness, source, supply, whatever it is that you choose to name it, it is that truth. Because the divine only works in truth. The divine does not work in lie. The divine only works in truth. So it is incumbent upon us, we are obligated then to name our truth, to name our good. So what is your good? What is driving you? What is it within you that gets you up every morning? That in spite of obstacles, in spite of challenges, what is it that gets you up? What is it that gets you moving? What is it that has you say yes to the next breath? I invite you to ask yourself that. See if you can name it. Is it life? Is it love? Is it source? Is it supply? Is it divine intelligence? Is it wisdom? What is it? What is it? Because we all have it. Freedom, joy, peace. What is it? And name it. Name it. And so perhaps it is supply. So then I invite you to say this. My supply is my good. Let's just go ahead and say it so you can practice it. My supply is my good. My good is my God. Thus, God is my supply. Let's try it with love. My love is my good. My good is my God. Thus, God is my love. How's that feeling? All right? Let's do it with abundance. My abundance is my good. My good is my God. Thus, God is my abundance. I hear Sophia and Cameron back there. Awesome. My clarity is my good. My good is my God. Thus, God is my clarity. You see how that works? So whatever it is in your life, joy, my joy is my good. My good is my God. Thus, God is my joy. See how this works? My wholeness, health, right? My wholeness. Let's do this one. My wholeness is my good. My good is my God. Thus, God is my wholeness. Not anything appearing to be contrary to that. Because when we speak this truth, when we say it like this, in this sort of affirmation, when we present it like this, when we speak it like this, we're speaking the word, the creative word, the conversation that was in the beginning. We are speaking the word, and thus it has power, and it creates. And what? The divine only works in truth. And here we are speaking the word of truth. We're not going to get it from anywhere else. We're not going to get it from anyone else. We're not going to get it from anything else. Because there is nothing else. There is no one else. There is only the one good, which is God. Whew, how's that feeling? So part of the poem from Maya Angelou reads this. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Still I'll rise. And so I invite you this week and as you move forward. When we encounter changes and when we encounter challenges and when we encounter pains, I invite you to come back to this practice. Name your good. Your good is your God, and God is your good. And so let's come together in consciousness now, shall we? I invite all of our practitioners to please stand and surround the sanctuary, and our core council members to also please stand and surround the sanctuary. And I'm going to share, normally when we do prayer, we just do, not just do, but I do a spiritual mind treatment, or I do an affirmative prayer that is a spontaneous affirmative prayer. But this morning, Spirit was saying, as I was listening to the guidance of Spirit, Spirit said, read this from Ernest Holmes. And so this is our prayer today. So I invite you, if you will, to just close your eyes and turn within and join me in consciousness. I know there is a power for good which is responding to me and bringing into my experience everything that is necessary to my unfoldment, to my happiness, to my peace, to my health, and to my success. I know there is a power for good that enables me to help others and to bless the whole world. So I say quietly to myself, there is one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. It is flowing through me, circulating in me. I am one with its rhythm. My heart beats with the pulsation of the universe in serenity, in peace, and in joy. My whole physical being is animated by the divine spirit. And if there is anything in it that does not belong, it is cast out, because there is one perfect life in me now. And so I say to myself, I am daily guided so that I shall know what to do under every circumstance and in every situation. Divine intelligence guides me in love, in joy, and in complete self-expression. Desiring that the law of good alone shall control me, I bless and prosper everything I am doing. I multiply every activity. I accept and expect happiness and complete success. Realizing that I am one with all people, I affirm that there is a silent power flowing through me and them, which blesses and heals and prospers, makes happy and glad their pathway. And realizing that the world is made up of people like myself, I bless the world and affirm that it shall come under the divine government of good, under the divine providence of love, and under the divine leadership of intelligence. And I release this word now into the law, knowing that it is done, and so it is.
Love